Hello and welcome to Perils of the Warp. Number 11. My name is Roman and I have to my right.
I'm John. And if you heard that subtle hesitation, it's because he almost forgot which one was his right hand and which one was his left hand.
I am dyslexic. Either way, Mark couldn't make it to the podcast. He has a prior engagement. It is his girlfriend's birthday, and apparently he does suffer from bad allergies. If you want to hear more about his bad allergies, go ahead and go to City Podcast. Go about a year ago where he almost died. But as promised, we're back with Perils, and we're going to tackle the original plan for this episode was we're going to tackle everything that happened in the year, like all of 2017. Then John corrected me and say we only really play one game, so it doesn't make sense to include everything. So we're pretty much going to include 40K, but we're going to start from June when the new edition dropped. And then we're going to go until December. We're not going to cover January because, of course, it's going to be in next year's podcast about all this. I've already started pulling up some notes on that. So hopefully it won't be such a shit show, and maybe we can get and cover it on time at the end of December.
I doubt it.
Yeah, but we're going to go ahead and start off with our main topic. All right, so in June, we had Darken Period. All right, now Darken Period was the new starter set, basically, for 8th edition, but Warhammer or GW never specifically says that it's 8th edition. We name it 8th edition because we're counting. They're not. They say it's the new edition of Warhammer 40,000. But the starter set did come with a few miniatures. Of course, we have the 5 Primaris Hellblasters. We have the 5 Intercessors, or 10 Intercessors. We have the Lieutenant, or 2 Lieutenants. We have the Ancient. And we have the Captain in Grievous armor. And those are pretty much the Imperium side. What's the Chaos side, John?
Oh, the Chaos side. The Chaos side is sexy. But first, let me tell you about this fucking bug with like some helicopter sponsons.
Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta shut you up for a little bit. We also have Interceptors, which are the big flyer dudes.
Yeah. The guys with the fucking barrels on their backs.
Yeah, those are my favorite. But okay, so you had a stupid airplane something.
Got an awesome bug helicopter hybrid.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like shit. Okay.
It's amazing. It's amazing and it's deadly and it's awesome. And we have a new sorcerer. It's not a sorcerer. It's a you don't have it like right in front of you?
I mean, I can, but I thought you being the, chaos.
I want to make sure I don't get anything wrong.
Okay, well.
Okay, but I don't know. I just thought you're supposed to. You said you're gonna have this stuff like on your computer.
I do. Part of this, and you do not know your army. So
I'm sorry. My job today was to handle the codexes.
Mm-hmm.
Yours was the mini releases. And
yeah.
Since this entire conversation has been happening, I've remembered that it's called a Malignant Planecaster, so at least there's that, you know?
Right,
we got
I'm
that
gonna
going
break
for
it
us.
down. You have one Death Guard Lord of Contagion. You have the Noxious Blightbringer. You have a Malignant Platecaster. You have 7 Death Guard Plague Marines. You have the Feated Blight Drone. And you have 20 Death Guard Poxwalkers. That was all the miniatures that was in there, but this was a very, very big departure from their previous ones because they actually gave you a full-fledged hardcover rulebook. In all the other past editions, they've kind of just thrown in like a little travel one, just so you can boom, boom, boom. Let me hear you say way-ho. Let me hear you say way-ho.
Well,
that's right. All right.
I have no idea where that's from, ladies and gentlemen. I do
song.
not keep up with popular culture.
It's an old-ass song. It's from the 90s. We were alive in the 90s, you jackass. But it did have a full-fledged rulebook. It had a little, the 8-page kind of pullouts with all the core rules that you need. It came with the Primaris rules. It came with the Death Guard rules. Of course, your little...
floppy ruler.
Your floppy ruler. It came with a set of dice, and it came with your what the hell is it called? The
Oh, the data sheets to play with the models that are in the box.
well, those were the data sheets, the Primaris and the Death Guard. I'm talking about how to put them together. The
Oh,
assembly.
the assembly guide.
It came with an assembly guide as well. I have to say, I've worked with all of these a lot. These particular models, these are some of the best in terms of like the actual plastic and how they go together. So easy. All the mold lines go off, and John's looking at me because he knows that I put together his entire Death Guard army. So it's sad.
It's 3 sets of Dark Imperium,
Mm-hmm.
not just one. He put them together because I was never going to.
And I also primed and based them. And 4 different colors that you wanted. So
A lot of green.
Yeah.
There's 4 different greens because I that's one thing I like about Death Guard is, yeah, you can go with the uniform color and just make it look like regular armor, but I decided to make it look like it was armor that's rotting in different tones. So.
But yeah, that's pretty much what's in there. It's pretty impressive to be honest with you. I have my 2 put together. I've split them down the middle with Blood Angels, Dark Angels. I still have a 3rd one, and you're thinking about selling your Space Marines army, you said? So I'm going to just take that 3rd one, and I'm going to split it again through Blood Angels, Dark Angels. Unless I have a hankering to paint another thing. But along in June, there was No Fear, which was a smaller, more compact version of the actual Dark Imperium set, but there wasn't as many models. It came with the Space Marine Captain. It came with the Intercessor Squad. It came with the Interceptor Squad, and it came with the Hellblasters. So the only thing that you didn't get in there were the 2 lieutenants, the Ancient, and the extra Intercessor Squad. As for the Death Guard, it came with the Lord of Contagion, the Feated Blight Drone. What else did it come with? I believe it came with Poxwalkers. It came with 5 Plague Marines and 10 Poxwalkers. But it also, the actual box made a playmat, and it came with some dice. Of course, your floppy ruler, your No Fear, which is just a starter set, kind of giving you all the data sheets that you needed. And it was really cool because it gave you, the box actually just folded out into a little map that you could play on. And it looks like, trying to see if it has the dimensions here.
There was also a little cardboard piece of terrain for you to play with.
Yeah. It looks like the gaming mat, they said, was specific for this, and it was 22 inches by 43 inches. So, actually pretty cool. I like that. And then along with that, maybe a couple of weeks later, we had First Strike, and it was an even smaller type of game. It came with 3 Intercessors, which are just your standard Marines, but it also came with 3 Reavers. And Reavers this was the first time that you actually knew what Reavers were. They're the close combat variant, basically, of the Ultramarines, or Space Marines in general. And then Death Guard, it has the 3 Marines, the 3 Plague Marines, and 6 Poxwalkers. And again, it kind of comes with the same type of thing where the box folds out into terrain, and it gives you a little map as well. And all the little data sheets. It actually gives you cool little data sheets. They almost look like cards that they cut out for some of these. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, the Dark Imperium was 160, No Fear is 80, and the Strike Force was 40. So just different tiers of how to get into the game, which I thought was really cool. After that, well, that's pretty much June in terms of what came out. Next up is when we start to see big things roll out, and in July we have the Codex Adeptus Astartes Space Marines. So all your vanilla Marines in there. I don't know it, but I know the early favorites for them were Salamanders, with their chapter tactic, re-rolling, one roll within a phase, I believe, or one.
It's for per unit.
Per unit.
You can re-roll a failed hit and a failed wound. So just in 7th edition, captains for units or single characters, they all had mastercrafted. So they basically just kind of injected steroids into the Mastercrafted rule and gave it to the entire unit, so you can pick.
Fair enough. But yeah, so that's one thing that came out. I know that there was one of the early favorites. Who else was? Well, Ultramarines, of course, had so many stratagems. You can get so many command points. They're pretty much like your ultimate command dudes.
The Raven Guard were also very popular with that -1 to hit at them from 12 inches away.
Yeah.
Which is a rule you see sporadically throughout the codexes. A lot of them have that.
Yeah, I think they're kind of trying to balance it, or at least like one Xenos army will maybe have something like that. Not exactly, but something like that. So it's pretty cool. I actually like the way that is working out. But along with the actual codex, we have Primaris Librarian, which is really cool. He had a cool beard. The Primaris Apothecary, which was really cool, and I really like him because he has the gene seed in his hand.
I love that he has the gene seed in his hand. I don't understand why he's stepping on the body of a fallen brother. That's something I don't see an actual Marine doing in the battlefield. You know, they had a lot of respect for each other and for their fallen.
Maybe it was just one guy he didn't really get along with.
Maybe.
You know, there's those guys that rub you the wrong way, and you're just like, fuck him. Let me step on him a little bit. I'm still gonna harvest his gene seed. He's gonna live on some this while, but I'm gonna spit on his grave a little bit. With that came the Primaris Intercessors Marines. So they actually had the Space Marines come out. I believe they only had the 5 men at one time. Later on, they came out with the 10 men. Came out with the Big Daddy Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought. So that is a crazy one. I was almost thinking about buying it on Monday instead of buying Shadespire. I was really looking at that Redemptor. Kind of, I should have bought it, but I got Shadespire. I'd wanted Shadespire for a while, but the last release for July was the Primaris Repulsor. I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't know any of the rules for it, to be honest with you. I just know that it has a lot of guns.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun to play with when you have that many guns to shoot with, but it looks a little ridiculous.
I don't know how they can get a big ass floating tank, but they can't find that technology and put it on some bikes. Pisses me off. Anyways, that was July. Into August, we had 2 codexes. We had the Codex Heretic Astartes Chaos Space Marines.
Woo!
That's right. And Codex Adeptus Astartes Grey Knights.
Meh.
You're just a bitch. Yeah, I'm evil. God, dude, I have to fucking cut this right now. I love the audiobooks. They really bring out the shitty quality of all the Chaos dudes. I keep telling you this. All the fucking Lorgars dudes, all the word bearers, all sound like, I'm evil. I'm gonna spread the word of evil and be the most evilest of evils. Ridiculous. I don't like it. I fucking hate them. So there you go.
Well, that's the British for you. They decided that all those bad guys should have the same dialogue.
Well, what about Chaos Space Marines? What can you tell me? Try to keep it short, because I know you fucking jizz all over yourself when you talk about Chaos Space Marines, but try to keep it short.
What can I tell you about Chaos Space Marines?
Yeah, she always has to preface shit. Just fucking do it.
I was making sure I heard you correctly. You gotta be an asshole.
Yeah, well.
Well, I mean, I am gonna go over the Space Marine Codex a little bit later when we're going through all that, but again, we do have the Raven Guard rule, which for us it's Alpha Legion. We have some powerhouses like the Alpha Legion, and a lot of really good fluff rules, like the Khorne Berserkers can fight twice in the battle phase. The Noise Marines have their noise weapons. They fight first in combat because they're Slanesh and they're fast like that. So it's a lot of good fluff rules in there. A lot of things got changed. For instance, the Obliterators, they used to have their flesh model guns used to be basically they had any gun that available to Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, and you could pick one every turn to shoot with. Now it has its own profile.
It's the heavy D3 or
whatever? It's Assault 4.
Assault 4. Okay.
Yeah, and then you roll 3d3s.
Oh, and it's like the strength, the AP,
Yeah.
and the damage, right? Okay. Okay, that's cool. I do like Obliterators. I just wish they kind of had a better kit because they were metal for a long time and they just switched them over to the Finecast, right?
They're in plastic.
Are they?
Yeah, they're still not the greatest model.
They're not, but we'll see. There was interesting stuff at LVO. They got me thinking about what they were gonna do. But that was August. We're going into September, and this was the month of Nurgle. It starts off with the Codex Heretic Astartes Death Guard.
Yes.
So, and then we go into the Death Shroud bodyguards, which are the Terminators, and then we have Scribus Wretch, the Tallyman. And then just to kind of break it, we have Codex Adeptus Mechanicus. I haven't heard any good things about Adeptus Mechanicus, so they're kind of in a weird place right now. But Big Daddy came back, and it was Mortarion, Demon Primarch of Nurgle. Go ahead and jizz.
I'm trying not to scream like a little girl right now, but it's hard. Oh, it's so hard.
Give me a little bit of Mortarion. Give me your first impressions when they first revealed him.
When they showed the model.
Yes, instead of just showing off like a little piece.
The first thing that crossed my head was, those aren't angel wings.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the artwork had him with, like a darker, kind of rotten, feathered wings.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has fly wings, which I think it suits him.
Yeah, I think it fits Nurgle
in
general.
He's his face is half rotten. He's fucking hunchbacked.
Mm-hmm.
He's covered in slime and pus and boils, and he has little nurglings holding up his cloak and his chains and stuff. Kind of like the ladies in waitings holding the train. The train of the dresses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful model.
So you're saying everything you described is how I see myself. So I guess I'm Mortarion, except not cool. I'm just slimy and gross.
With the hunchback.
With the hunchback. But yeah, that was September. In October, things slowed down for 40K. It was just the Codex Astra Militarum and Codex Craft World. So that was the first Xenos race to get a Codex. So by all accounts, I've played against them and they are rough. So, I think Eldar in general are in a good place. For November, a very, very, very slow week. Or month, rather. Codex Tyranids was the only thing that dropped in November. For 40K. It's still pretty good from what I've gathered. And John will talk about this more. We're going to go in a little more into Codexes. Tyranids are doing really good. But December, our final month, was Chapter Approved was first printed. Not needed, to be honest with you. Everything that I've seen from it and everything that John has told me about it, it's not worth it. It's just hold off until this December when the actual Chapter Approved comes out. You'll get some updates. I think you're going to get some updates for Adeptus Mechanicus and things like that. But we also have two codexes. Codex Adeptus Astartes Blood Angels and Codex Adeptus Astartes Dark Angels. Both have two distinct lieutenants. So the Primaris Lieutenant Tollerman for Blood Angels and Primaris Lieutenant Zachariah for the Dark Angels. Both have the Primaris Hellblasters and Intercessors squads come out. They're 10-mens, and they just put in the upgrade sprue so that you can distinguish them as Blood Angels and Dark Angels. And that was pretty much the first 7 months, I guess you could say, of 8th edition. And now we're going to get to...
That was the sound of me throwing away my Demon's Codex, because we're not talking about that today, apparently.
No, we're not.
All right. I'm ready. Let's do this.
I don't know why you should make such a big deal about it. But...
I just wasn't aware.
I told you before the podcast.
I don't listen to you, and I was eating.
Exactly. So that's your fault, not mine. Because I told you, you weren't paying attention. So don't act like a little bitch and just throw shit around to make a big deal when I told you about this. But either way, in July, and this was not mentioned, there was the indexes. So we had Index Imperium 1, 2, you had the Chaos, you had
Xenos 1 and Xenos 2.
Xenos 2. Okay, so all of Demons were in the Chaos one.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, those were quickly starting to fade out with the codexes running out, and I still have mine. Pretty cool. I can still use some of the stuff that's in here, like the chaplain on a bike and things like that aren't available in the codex anymore. So that's really cool. Well, I guess we'll go down a list in the ones that we actually have. So the first one was Adeptus, the Space Marines.
Space Marines. I mentioned this before. Space Marines was always going to be the first book that came out.
Of course.
It's the GW's poster boys, especially the blue ones, the blue bastards.
But I mean, they sell the most.
Yeah.
So.
Gilliman. Gilliman wins games. The fact that you can take a Primarch on a 500-point game, and it doesn't matter how big the game gets, he's still going to be the MVP.
Yeah.
The thing where Space Marines fall short is that they were the first codex. Because GW, it seems like they're learning as they go. And every codex that comes out is just a little bit better than the one before it. And so the fact that Space Marines was the first codex really left a lot to be desired now that we're looking at the new stuff.
Yeah.
Space Marines just don't stand a chance against Hordes and a lot of the new codexes that are out. I've stopped playing my Space Marines altogether. It's sad.
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, that chapter approved for this year, when it does come out in December, I think we'll fix a lot of that stuff. I think they're going to make them a little more viable in terms of maybe points values. I don't think they're going to add much in terms of rules for specific data sheets, because I think they want data sheets to be there. But, of course, we're going to get all the FAQs and everything in there as well, and the errata. But I think they're going to maybe adjust some points values that may be making them a little more competitive. But from what I've seen, they're still competitive. It's just a lot harder for them.
Yes.
Even with the Blood Angels and the Dark Angels, even though I haven't really played with my Blood Angels, looked into them, there's still kind of an uphill battle there. Because they are still Space Marines.
Yeah, well, the thing about 8th edition, or new edition, we're going to be a fucking nerd about it.
8th edition.
The thing about 8th edition is that the Alpha Strike is more important than it's ever been. And aside from Space Marines just standing around with rocket launchers and las cannons, they don't really have their own Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
Blood Angels and Dark Angels both have excellent fucking Alpha Strikes.
Yes.
Every other codex that's come out since Space Marines, and Chaos Space Marines, because,
Do you think they designed Gilliman to be, that 500 points or under 500 points, right?
Yes, under 500 points.
Do you think they had to design him with the Alpha Strike in him? They basically just want you to take him to the list.
He's not so much an Alpha Striker, because the Alpha Strike specifically...
It's to take down big units.
It's specifically the first thing that you do,
Yeah.
your first turn. Gilliman's going to fuck shit up. He's supposed to get across the table.
Yeah.
The Alpha Strike is the very first thing you do. It's putting all of your eggs in one basket at the beginning of the game.
Is it possible he can't deep strike, can he?
No.
Okay. Kind of dumb that he can't deep strike. But then again...
We all know how I feel about Primarchs and deep striking.
You'd have to... Yeah. Because then you'd have to have your guys deep strike, and then you're bitter about it. But yeah, I can agree with you. Space Marines need just maybe a little extra oomph in terms of maybe a points reduction. But the thing is, if you make that points reduction, it has to go for all Space Marines, and that means that these guys
I don't think they necessarily need points deductions. I think they are they're Space Marines. You know, they're super modified humans. They're not going to be cheap. They just need.
Do you think that maybe in the chapter approved, giving every chapter a few more stratagems?
Stratagems is what they need.
Okay.
Because every other army relies on their stratagems almost.
Yeah.
Almost all of them rely on their stratagems for their alpha strike, and they're able to do such amazing, beautiful things on that turn run right out the gate. Whereas Space Marines are just kind of like, oh, we're just, shooting our guns, pew pew, hoping for the best, hope we go first.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll see. Hopefully that'll be addressed in chapter approved. But then we're going to August, and it's the Chaos Space Marines.
Chaos Space Marines. Again, it's the second book. There's not a lot in here that really like gives that amazing alpha strike, which is so pertinent to the game right now.
Yes.
You have Alpha Legions -1 to shoot at, which the Raven Guard have. I've seen a list where it's a bunch of Alpha Legions with rocket launchers, because they can do that spread out shot for hordes and the single hard shot for anti-monsters and tanks.
Yeah.
They take obliterators because they can deep strike. They have really good spells, especially Death Hex, which removes invulnerable saves.
Okay.
So it is a very fun book to play out of. There's a lot of mixing and matching you can do. Berserkers with Alpha Legion. You got your guys standing back and shooting with the Berserkers running in.
Okay. I can get behind that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do out of this book that's fun, but again, aside from just relying on your weapons, your standard weapons that you've always had, there's really not like a viable alpha strike in here, but it's a fun.
Okay. I will I have to defer to you on that, because I have a Chaos Space Marines army that's kind of just on the back burner for right now, until maybe hopefully this year something happens, maybe. We'll see. But next up is Grey Knights. So we don't actually have
Grey Knights. Yes, we don't have Grey Knights Codex, but I'm not 100% sure what the Grey Knights stratagems do. I do know that the Grey Knights don't necessarily need them. They are pretty amazing. They have troops that are Terminators, so they can deep strike. They're fast attack. They split little holes in reality and jump through it, so they can move 12 inches, or they can pull themselves off the table and deep strike, or start in deep strike reserve. So there's a lot of good deep striking stuff. All their HQs are in Terminator armor, so everything deep strikes, except for their other troops choice, which is they're just regular power armor. But so basically, other than that, everything deep strikes. Everything is a fucking psyker. Everything can cast smite. Admittedly, it's at 1 damage unless they're fighting demons, in which case it's 3 damage without rolling a d3.
Yeah.
But still, when all of your units are shooting and doing close combat and doing 1 mortal wound, it's a lot of pressure to put on your opponent. Yeah. You can now take captains in the Dread Knight armor.
Yes.
I mean, those things with incinerators and silencers, they're stupidly amazing.
But I mean, they seem strong from what you're telling me. It's just, why don't you see many on the battle, like in any tournaments or anything like that?
Well, you were seeing them. It's just that they were allied with Imperial Guard, for the reason that Horde armies are dominating 8th edition.
Yeah. And
Grey Knights just cost a lot of points. Your 2,000 points is not going to be anywhere near the size of Orc 2,000 points.
Yeah, they're just really elites heavy.
Yeah, so they would take their best stuff. They would take librarians, captains, dread knights, and then they would take a bunch of conscripts and stuff like that. You had all that smite from the Grey Knights. You would take a couple of Modars.
Yeah.
To just throw a lot of dice and Primaris Psychers for that smite spam.
Yeah.
It was a very good list. It was up there, always in the top 3 for a while.
And then, of course, they changed a few things with the chapter approved.
Yeah.
But so Grey Knights sounded pretty good. Let's see. We had the Death Guard. So Death Guard was up, and why don't you let us in on the Death Guard?
Death Guard. First of all, I just realized how thin this book actually is.
Well, I mean, it's just
Death Guard.
Yeah.
So, we got a new Typhus model, which I think kind of escaped your notice on your.
Oh, did I notice it?
Yeah.
You gotta let me know these things. Well, all right. So I missed it. My fault.
So, Death Guard is where stratagems really start
getting crazy.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god. All right. Oh my god. Justin Wong. Okay.
Nobody's gonna get that reference.
Okay. So, Plague Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I can take 20.
Okay.
They all come standard with Plague Knives, which is a plague weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For some of them, I can drop the bolt gun and give them an additional plague knife, which gives me an extra attack, I believe.
Okay.
And then I have stuff like the Flail of Corruption, which gives me D3 attacks. And some other awesome weapons like the Bubonic Axe and the Great Plague Cleaver. All of them are plague weapons. Okay. So, let's say I'm in close combat with the Plague Marines. That's the first thing about Death Guard is they don't necessarily have an alpha strike. You can take a bunch of Plague Burst crawlers and shoot the fuck out of your enemy, attempting to, because you're still rolling a d6.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff you can do from across the battlefield. Obviously, last cannons, rocket launchers. The thing about Plague Marines or Death Guard is that they're gonna survive your alpha strike.
Yes. Very
so, they're crawling across the battlefield, right? So I get my 20 Plague Marines into close combat. Okay. So, if I kit them out, the way I want to, we're talking about 30 plus attacks going in on close combat. Okay. I am taking a captain of some sort, whether it be a Demon Prince or something, to give that bubble of rerolling ones to hit. Okay, so they're hitting on 3s. They have a spell that I can cast on them with my Malignant Plaguecaster, or my Demon Prince, or my Sorcerer. And it gives them a +1 to wound in close combat.
Okay. So now hitting on... Or
a +1 to hit, sorry.
Okay, +1 to hit. So they're now hitting on 2s.
So they're hitting on 2s.
Rerolling 1s.
Rerolling 1s. And any wound rolls of 7, so a 6 plus the 1, is a mortal wound automatically. Okay, so they have a stratagem where I can burn 1 to add +1 to hit. And I can take a Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer and give them another spell that's a +1 to hit, because any Chaos Space Marine spell will affect any Heretic Astartes. And the same thing is for Space Marines.
Yeah.
I can take a Librarian from Iron Hands and affect a Grey Knight.
Yeah.
Because it's an Astartes.
Yeah.
Okay? So I give my Plague Marines another +1 to hit.
So now hitting your 7s on 5s.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I can get it down to 4s.
Holy shit, okay.
Okay, so on 4s to hit, I'm dealing immortal wounds. Plague weapons automatically reroll their fails of 1, so even if I didn't get a mortal wound, I'm still probably dealing regular damage. Plus, any of those 1s, I can... No, that's wounding now. So yeah, even if I didn't make a mortal wound, I can still do a bunch of additional wounds.
Yeah.
So this is where stratagems really start to like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
Again, that giant unit of Plague Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I can take a biologist putrefier, that model that came out.
Okay.
He makes plague blight grenades, +1 strength. Okay, so out of every unit, one person can throw a grenade. Well, a blight grenade is strength 3, d6 shots, and it's a plague weapon, so you can reroll ones on wounds. Well, for 1 command point, the entire unit can throw a grenade. So you got 20 d6 shots coming at you at strength 4 because of the biologist putrefier.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, even if I gave the entire unit double knives and just 4 went, all bolt guns all together, I could still throw 20 fucking grenades at you before I charge you.
That's insane.
Yeah, I like it.
Anything else notable?
We got the Rumba.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think came out last year technically, right? Or was it this year?
I think it was this year.
Okay,
I think it was the beginning of this
the
year.
rules are in the book already.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you about the Rumba. The Rumba, which I should really use its actual name, but I don't know it. Mephitic Blight Hauler. Yeah, I know it.
That fucking shit came out. You were like Rain Man fucking out.
It always provides cover to Space Marines to Nurgle Space Marines within 7 inches of it.
Okay.
So there's
makes them even more survivable.
So they're really just they have a spell that you can affect the unit to give them -1 to hit. So if you're shooting at me, you're on 4s. If you're shooting at me with a heavy weapon and you moved, you're on 5s. So their whole thing is survive.
Yeah.
And that's where the stratagems really start going crazy. So that's cool. Death Guard.
Cool. And Adeptus Mechanicus. Do we have anything on them?
Adeptus Mechanicus. That's another one of the armies that I play. They don't have stratagems the way that Death Guard did. It's kind of like they took a step back there. For pretty obvious reasons. I mean, Mechanicum's pretty fucking crazy. They have one of the better tanks with anti-tank weapons. I mean, that thing, it's 40 points for the gun itself. And it's basically a last cannon on steroids because it's AP -4. You're doing D6 damage, but you're ignoring 1s and 2s, so you're always on 3s for damage.
Oh, okay.
You don't have a lot of choices for HQs. You have Belisarius, or you have the Tech Priest Dominus, or the Tech Priest Engines here. You have a couple of Forge World specific rules, much like the Space Marine Raven Guard and all that, which they do have one of the Raven Guard rules, where it's a -1 to shoot at them.
Okay.
The one that I play is Ryza, which lets me reroll 1s in close combat, which isn't good at all. But I mean, it works with my list because it's a Ryza fluff list, so it's more of a close combat army. But I mean, their guns are just so amazing. The Castellan robots are throwing out so many shots, and it's just they're too good at shooting and a little bit good at close combat, as opposed to other armies that are great at shooting and suck at close combat, or great at close combat and suck at shooting. They're really great at shooting and mediocre to decent in close combat. I think if they had started giving them stratagems the way they did the Death Guard, they might have been a little too crazy.
Yeah, it's possible there. Okay, so hopefully another army that will be addressed in the chapter approved and maybe get a little more love there. After that, it is Codex Craft Worlds.
Codex Craft Worlds.
I know you did a little research on these.
Yes. After losing so many fucking games. So again, that's another army that their stratagems. They don't have crazy stratagems, but the units themselves are just so fucking stupid. First of all, there's a couple of craft worlds. Like Lyandon, they can never lose more than 1 model Chimarau.
Huh, okay.
Sam Hain, reroll failed charge rolls for units with this attribute. Additionally, all bikers do not suffer a penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. So they have those bikes that they can put the scatter lasers on. So the scatter, like I played a game against X, right? Anytime you hear me mention X, you already can assume that I lost. But he took like 30 of these bikes, 3 units of 10. And each unit had scatter lasers, which are heavy 4, strength 6, no AP, but they're 2 damage apiece.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at 40 shots per unit. And the AP doesn't even matter because there's no way you're going to make that many even 3-ups. There's 40 shots coming at you at ballistic skill 3.
Yes.
So he's not going to miss that many. If there's a captain or whatever their equivalent is of, he can reroll 1s.
Yeah.
At strength 6, you're going to be wounding a lot of things on 3s. So it's very high probability of hitting, wounding, and getting actual damage through.
Yeah.
The last time I played him, I played my Space Marine Iron Hands tank army, and he wiped me out in 2 turns.
Jeez.
Took out half my army in the first turn, the other half in the second turn. Most of it with those bikes. Of course, they always have the Dark Reapers with their Reaper launchers.
Yes.
These guys, they just sit in their own deployment zone. You could take a unit of 10 and all of them have a 48-inch range tank destroying weapon at strength 8, AP -2, damage 3, just a flat damage 3.
Yeah.
So all of those are just if you had given them the type of stratagem work that Death Guard, Tyranids, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, if you had given them the kind of stratagems that these other books have, it would have been an army that's unbeatable. As it is, it's already fucking hard to beat.
Yeah, it takes a lot of strategy to really defeat Eldar, because you have to identify their targets and you have to really play around that. You have to be able to take them out.
Their Alpha Strike, on turn 1, those bikes are right outside your deployment zone. They're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
And the entire time you're worried about those bikes, those fucking Dark Reapers are in the back. Just shooting at you, just tearing you apart. There's no way you're getting to them because you're already getting fucked by these bikes.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that they have jet planes.
Jet bikes, yeah.
No, planes. The planes with the jet roll, the supersonic roll.
Okay.
The really fast ones.
Gotcha.
Those, in 7th edition, they had strength D weapons. In 8th edition, it's still, there's no strength D, but they're really fucking amazing. The guns, not to mention the fact that the planes themselves are psychers.
Yeah.
So they can cast smite. So there's just so much that's in your face on turn 1, and you still have that threat on their side of the field.
Yeah. So yeah, Eldar, just in short, are really strong. What about Astra Militarum?
Astra Militarum,
Started off real good.
Yes.
Started off OP, a lot of people thought.
They're still... The thing is, they lost the Commissar, because the Commissar out of the Index would never let you lose more than 1 model in the morale phase. So everybody was taking conscripts up the ass and only losing 1 in morale.
Yeah.
You can take Saint Celestine and you give all your Astra Militarum guys 6 of invulnerable save. You can take an Inquisitor, and for Warp Charge 4, which if you can't make Warp Charge 4, then don't play this fucking game. You can make a unit automatically pass morale. So there's still ways to do what the Commissar did. You're just probably going to spend a little bit more points.
And that was like the biggest thing.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. After the Commissar went, people just kind of like lost interest. But I think there's still a lot of really good.
But I mean, a big thing that people complained about as well is just the what are the units that you would take? You just mentioned them.
The Conscripts.
The Conscripts went up a point, which means that you just take less of them altogether, and they're not worth how they shoot. So that really neutered the army in terms of how people were playing that.
Yes.
The way that they played
you can no longer. It's no longer smart for you to play conscripts.
Yeah.
I still play this army. I just played a game with it last week where I went 17-7 against a demon army with their new codex. I mean, first of all, their tanks got better. I play Ryza, which means I take Katachan jungle fighters because that's the fluff for the planet Ryza. The Katachan are there with the Skitarii.
Yeah.
So if my tanks move half their maximum distance or less, I can fire the turret twice. And then the fluff for Ryza is that it's the only planet in the Imperium that still remembers how to make plasma.
Ah, okay.
So I take the plasma tanks, the triple plasma. So I can re-roll tanks. The tanks can re-roll a random generated shot. So like if I roll a D3 and it's a 1, I can re-roll it and try to get a 2 or a 3. If it's a 2, it's 50-50.
Okay.
I want to re-roll it and get a 1, but I'll re-roll a 1. So the tank originally gets 5 D3s. With the weapon, the turret weapon firing twice, I'm getting 8 D3s. Re-rolling a couple of those D3s to try to get them, better than 1. It's throwing out generally 15 to 20 something shots. Now that they fixed the plasma exhaust rule, I no longer lose 6 mortal wounds every time I roll a 1 on supercharge. I just get 1 mortal wound per 1.
Okay.
You can take a character like I have Harker who lets me reroll 1s in the shooting phase, so I'm pretty safe from that.
Alright.
And so I mean the tanks are doing amazing.
Okay.
The Teleran desert fighters, they have the ability to spend a stratagem, a command point, to infiltrate a unit, which includes Baneblades when they take them. So they can infiltrate Baneblades. I can't deep strike Primarchs. But that's cool. That's cool.
You still play this army.
Not Telerans. They play Katachan.
You could literally just go like, all right, this is just Terrans now. Like, so, you don't have to paint them. We're not doing tournaments where you have to paint them that way or anything.
So, but I mean, I do like Ryza. Their rule. I mean, Katachan. Their rule is they get +1 strength in close combat, making them strength 4. So this is what I generally do. For 1 command point, I can join 2 units of troops. So they have a maximum of 10 guys. You can't go over that. Yeah. So I joined 2 or 3 of them together. On this last game, I ended up joining 3 of them together for a 30-man squad. They were running with a Inquisitor. So on those 4 hups, I was ignoring morale. Okay. I had Celestine, so I had a 6-up invulnerable save. They have a 5-up save. For 1 command point, I can give them a 4-up save, and with a Primera Psyker, I can give them a 3-up save.
Alright.
So they are really resilient. They're really great in close combat. You can give them orders to shoot twice, basically. We are turning the rapid fire 1 weapon into a rapid fire 2. If you're already in combat during the shooting phase, you can give them orders to pile in and fight during the shooting phase. At strength 4, I generally take Vanguard, which reduce my opponent's toughness by 1. So sometimes I'm going 4 to 3s against stuff like Space Marines. Yeah. Or 4 to 2s against stuff like Eldar and Tyranids.
Okay. Well, is that all for Rational Turn?
If you take a priest with Celestine, you can give your Astra Militarum +1 attack also. And if you are playing Katachan like me, Colonel Ironhand Strachan also gives them +1 attack. So your guys have 3 attacks each. Right. Strength 4 to their toughness -1 with your 3-up saves. It's again, this is where stratagems start getting a little crazy.
Not broken, just crazy.
Crazy.
But speaking of Tyranids, you dropped them a little bit. What a Tyranid say?
Whew, my God. First of all, a couple of notable Hive Fleets. You have Behemoth. They have Hyper Aggression. You can reroll failed charges. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because you can deep strike Tyranids now. Basically, you can take one of their big dudes, and he creates a tunnel underground and comes up underground 9 inches away or more from enemy units. And when he does that, he can bring 30 or something. However, I don't play Tyranids. I just had them played against me. He can bring 30 or more dudes with him. Little Termagants and Hormagants and stuff like that. So you're at just outside of 9 inches away. You can re-roll your failed charges, giving you a 47.84 apparently. 9-inch charge. Yeah. So, 9-inch charges are really hard to make. It's something that we've noticed. It's like, deep strike 9 inches, we don't have to worry about scatter. Yeah. We could just charge. It's not that easy. A 9-inch charge. Well, here's your second chance after you fail that charge. Leviathan, they have Synaptic Imperative, which is a 6-up Throw No Pain, which a couple of other things have, like the Iron Hands and the Iron Warriors.
Oh, okay.
One of the no, actually, the 6-up Throw No Pain is pretty much all across the board on Ductus Mechanicus.
Ah, okay.
No matter what you take. So I mean, you're given that survivability. Here's where it starts getting crazy. Stratagems. You have Adrenaline Surge. For 3 command points, you can use it at the end of the fight phase. Select a Tyranid unit that has already fought. That unit may fight again. That is fucking amazing. You come up with 30 guys, giving them 2 attacks. If they're Hormagants or Termagants, I forget which one, but they probably shot before they attacked.
I think Termagants are the ones. I'm not sure.
But in of itself is great. But you can do Implant Attack for 1 command point. So you can add this on top of what you already have. After you play Adrenaline Surge, you can then do Implant Attack. So for 1 command point, you can select a model that is still alive after being wounded by a Tyranid unit. So Bikers have 2 wounds, Terminators have 2 wounds, a bunch of other things have more than 1 wound.
Yeah.
So if a model is still alive after being attacked by a Tyranid unit, in the fight phase, roll a d6 for each enemy model that was wounded. On a 2-up, that unit suffers a mortal wound. On top of that, you could have, at the start of the fight phase, for 1 command point, you could have selected a unit. Whenever a model from that unit dies, the enemy which inflicted the killing blow takes a mortal wound on a 6-up. So your 30 Gaunts that came up with the fucking dude whose name I can't remember, the Moloch or something, I don't know. Whenever your opponent kills them, they now have a chance to die in return. So, Kamikaze Ghost Attack. And then there's also Single-Minded Annihilation for 2 command points. You can use this at the end of the shooting phase. A Tyranid infantry unit that shot can shoot again. So those Gaunts came up and they fired from 30 guys. You can get 60 shots. So you can shoot again, making it 180 shots. And then you can charge. And then you can re-roll your failed charge. And then you can deal mortal wounds. That's Tyranids. So, I mean, they're just... There's something called mortal wound spam in the Tyranids. They have a stupid amount of different units that can cause mortal wounds. So Zoanthropes can cast Smite, Biovores with Spore Mines, and then Spore Mines can also be bought. So Molics, Maliceptors, Venomthropes, and Toxocrines with their Miasma. Pyrovores, when they die, cause mortal wounds. Harpies drop Spore Mines onto the battlefield. Hive Guard have Shot Cannons, which cause mortal wounds. Hive Crones with Tentaclids, and the Carnifex on the charge causes a mortal wound. Or D3 mortal wounds.
Fair enough.
And then all your monstrous creatures can do mortal wounds. So if you take the right units, you can fire 180 shots, deep strike in, reroll your failed charge, cause mortal wounds with your stratagems, and then you can take all these other guys that automatically cause mortal wounds throughout the battle. and just laugh at your opponent's armor save.
Like I'm laughing right now. All right, anything else for returns that you want to point out?
No. That's pretty much it.
All right.
Mortal wounds. Fuck me, right?
And now we're gonna get into Blood Angels. Blood Angels attack. And that's what they do. That's what they do best. They do have their Alpha Strike, which is Sanguinor, Astaroth, and as many fucking Death Company or
Sanguinary Guard
as you can take. And yeah, the reason being is because, all right, so
aren't you isn't there a third HQ choice that you would take?
I would take Mephiston, but there also is another thing that you could take, even though it's a lot more. You could take, first of all, you could take a what are they called? The Sanguine. He's basically an apothecary, but I don't remember his name.
The Sanguinary Priest.
Sanguinary Priest. Okay, so you can take a Sanguinary Priest if you want, but the what you really want is Lamartis, because Lamartis is a chaplain, so you know he's re-rolling. The Sanguinor adds 1 attack, and then Astaroth is just there. I think he helps you re-roll. What does it do? Automatically passes morale, but you can re-roll hit rolls in the fight phase, and that's for hit rolls. It's for hit rolls. The Lamartis, that's you wound rolls. So you already got that covered. But when you're taking the Death Company, they already have 2 attacks each. You can be a dickhead, and you can put 2 chain swords if you want, but 1 chain sword is 3 attacks.
Not to mention the fact that you can take melta guns.
Not to mention, they're called Infernal Pistols. You can also take those if you want.
You're re-rolling your failed hits and your failed wounds.
And what you can do is, basically in close combat, you get 2 attacks base. Then you get 1 for a chain sword. Then you get 1 for charging. Then you get 1 for the Sanguinor. So you get 5 attacks each in a 5-man. If you want to even go that low, a 5-man is going to give you 20 attacks. Plus, they have Blood Rage, which makes their strength on the charge +1. So now you're majority hitting big units on 5s instead of 6s. You're hitting smaller units on like 2s. So you're just getting a whole lot of value. And this is what you really want to do with this army. There's stratagems, of course, that help you help your librarian get a longer movement, like a dreadnought. You can actually give them wings, basically. You can turn them into a Death Company as well. And there's just a whole lot of things that kind of cater to, they get taken over by the Blood Rage, and they're going to attack even harder than they did before. So your Alpha Strike is the most important thing. And that's what they do best. They just do close attack. Where they do kind of lack...
You know what I really like about their Alpha Strike? Is that it's all deep striking. I mean, it's not deep striking. It's, they're falling out of the sky. But we just shouldn't call it deep striking. So even if you don't go first, you are completely protected. Your Alpha Strike cannot be shot down if they're not on the table.
So, I mean, it's just... There's a lot that they can do with that. They can take down so much. Where they lack is shooting a little bit. But you can take Hellblasters, like with everybody else, because I think Hellblasters are pretty much the best weapon that Space Marines have access to. I mean, a 30-inch plasma, that's, it's not, well, you can take the heavy version, but most of them are rapid fire. There's the assault version, so you get a lot of value there. And that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to have kind of a gun line that shoots farther with las cannons, with plasma, with things like that, so that you can drop in your dudes and make short work of them. I would put some scouts in there, just because scouts are really good at just kind of blocking.
Take out characters.
Yeah, and they're just really good at blocking up things that you need. Reavers as well. Reavers, because they can do that, you can change them with, I believe, one of the stratagems will have them be consumed by a Black Rage for a bit, at least for a fight turn, and they can pop up 9 inches from anywhere and then just go punch.
And then what of your stratagems? It does something for your charging. It also...
Yes, it lets you reroll your charge.
Reroll your charge, okay.
So you're going to be in combat.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing. But yeah, Blood Angels have a lot of stuff. They didn't get much of an errata when they had the FAQs. Nothing really big there. And then we're going on to Dark Angels.
Okay, but before we go into the Dark Angels, ladies and gentlemen, as some of our listeners know, I am currently running a 40K league. It's called the Mournival Weekly. And Perils with a Warp via Grimworks Productions is giving a start collecting box of your choice to one lucky winner. And I've already let everybody in the league know, there's 25 people, 26, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
That they do have to listen to this episode and get the password, which I'm about to give, in order to enter the contest.
Okay.
I want to do it here instead of at the end because I don't want them to just fast forward and be like, oh, I got it.
Yeah. Sure.
No, you got to listen to us. I know we suck at this.
Yeah. We probably forgot a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah.
And I probably don't even know one of those armies. I don't care. But let me know because I need to know this stuff.
Yeah, so...
But your password?
So, if any of you do listen to the City Podcast, which is our main podcast, you'll know that Tony is our technical producer, and he's also the financial backing to Grimworks. Pretty much everything we're doing here is because he brought it together, paid for everything, started everything. It was all his idea, his brainchild.
Yep.
As you may or may not know, he is commonly and lovingly referred to as an orphan by all of his friends and his family. His parents are now in on the joke and like, why did we ever bring you home? Out of all the kids we could have picked from the orphanage, we picked you. So we gave him the nickname Resident Orphan Tony, or ROT for short. So the password to get in on the Start Collecting giveaway for the Mournival Weekly League is going to be Resident Orphan Tony. That's your password. You can go ahead and message me directly via Facebook Messenger, and I will put your name in a hat.
All right.
So your password is Resident Orphan Tony.
All right, got it. That's your Little Orphan Annie fucking EDJ secret Dakota ring. All right, so Resident Orphan Tony. All right, so that is your password. Go ahead and message John directly. Do not give everybody a chance to go in by just sending them a message to Facebook.
Yeah.
And posting it because then everybody's gonna know. Go ahead and make them suffer like you did to go through this whole podcast.
Yeah.
But because we all know 40K is all about suffering.
In the grim dark future,
there is only pain. But speaking about pain, good old handy dandy Dark Angels is my main army. If you don't know, so just like John, I'm about to splooge. Dark Angels, what are they good at? They're really good at shooting plasma. That's really all you gotta know. Hellblasters are your best friend. You can take them as many as you want, to be honest with you. Black Knights are your super friends. The only thing with this army is that they do not work. You cannot just take Black Knights. You cannot just take Hellblasters, things like that. They all have to kind of work in conjunction. But with the stratagems, Plasma, and the Black Knights and the Hellblasters pay off tremendously there because they have a stratagem, 2 command points, and your attacks go up by 1. So you can supercharge, right? So now you can put the Hellblaster variants like I did on the Hellblasters, 24-inch assault 2. They get another one, so they're getting 2 shots. If you overcharge, if they did not move because of
Grim Resolve.
Grim Resolve. Thank you. I was about to look at my book. Grim Resolve, you get your reroll ones if you stay put. So that gives you a better incentive to turn Hellblasters into a gun line. While your Black Knights can kind of run and gun everywhere, you can have Reavers to muck up bigger units so that they don't shoot you to hell. You can lock up, John's so proud about his Rumba. Well, you can tie up that Rumba by putting Reavers next to it, and they're not going. Since it is a tank, it doesn't hit very well. You have to hit on sixes. You have to
Not the Rumba, no.
Not the Rumba?
No.
Alright.
It has close combat attacks.
Alright, it still doesn't look good. But you can still tie it up because its main thing is shooting. So you just tie it up for a few turns. You can sacrifice them if you need to. But like I said, biggest thing is plasma with it. Terminators.
Before you go into Terminators, I do want to mention their Alpha Strike because it does involve the Black Knights,
yes,
which you're about to move away from.
And I'll touch on that later. With
okay.
But go ahead. You go ahead and go.
Yeah, because obviously I'm talking about Alpha Strikes a lot in this episode because that is the big thing. And the Dark Angels have one of my favorite Alpha Strikes, and I love that it works so well because it is Roman's go-to army. It's his pride and joy, and it's fun when I don't just stomp on him because of my crazy rules. He now has his own crazy rules, which he didn't have for a long time. But basically, those Black Knights, they all have those plasma talons.
Yes.
So they are rapid fire 2, right?
I believe assault.
Assault 2. Okay. So either way, they're getting 2 shots. Okay. So on a unit of 10 bikes, you're getting 20 shots. They have a 12-inch movement.
14-inch.
14-inch movement. Plus, they can supercharge and get that 4-up invulnerable save. And because it's assault, they can still fire.
Yes.
So if you take the what's the name of the land speeder?
The named one?
The one that's giving them the -1, the Dark Shroud.
The Dark Shroud?
Yeah. So you take a Dark Shroud, and at the beginning of the game, you park the bikes next to the Dark Shroud, so your opponents are at a -1 to shoot at them, protecting your Alpha Strike in case you go second. You can also take the named Librarian Ezekiel, which gives all Dark Angels bikes and what do you call them? The guys on foot?
Your attack Marines?
No, just like in general. There's bikes and
troops. Infantry.
Infantry. There you go. It gives all Dark Angels infantry within 6 inches of him a 4-up invulnerable save. Yes. Which is also making sure your bikes stay on the field. Not to mention the fact that in the Black Knight's box, you can get an apothecary on a bike. To bring them back if they did die. So you supercharge them, you spend your command point, you're getting 3 damage off of each one.
With
supercharge and the command point?
Supercharge and command points. Well, if you supercharge, yes, it is damage 2 plus 1 because of the command point.
So you got 20 shots at AP -3, damage 3.
Damage,
Yeah, damage 3 with the command point.
Yeah, strength 8.
Strength 8.
AP 3.
AP 3. So I mean, that unit of 10-man bikes is taking down knights.
Yes. One of the things that is really cool about the army, specifically with the Dark Knights or Black Knights, is that they can all take Corvus hammers now. So you load them up with Corvus hammers. You can keep them with your Dark Shroud so that they don't get hit with Overwatch. You take Sammy or you take the Talon Master, which helps them re-roll whatever they have to, and Corvus hammers are fucking insane. So even in close combat, they're gonna do hella work. Their main thing that you should be doing is shooting. You really shouldn't try to get into close combat either way, but if you need that extra little bit of damage, the Corvus hammers are going to do the work that you need. So, yes. I love the Talon Master. He is probably my favorite HQ. He's one of the most reliable HQs, besides Azrael, because Azrael's a motherfucker, and he gives all infantry and bikers 4-up invulnerable. But I just like the Talamaster so much just because of the one rule that I can never fucking remember the name of. So I'm gonna go into my little thing here.
Our handy dandy notebook.
Yeah. Codex notebook. It is tactical precision. Or no. No escape. Enemy units do not gain any bonuses to their saving throws for being in cover against shooting attacks made by friendly Ravenwing units that are within 6 of this model. So you don't get any cover saves. I mean, that is what I like about it. I'm sad that Sammy doesn't have like that kind of oomph. He's still good, but he doesn't have that oomph. So I like that. Interrogator Chaplains, whatever. What's the other unit that I really like in here? Well, I really do like my Deathwing Knights. I love my Deathwing Knights.
I'm so jealous that you not only get a bike apothecary, you get a Terminator apothecary.
Yeah, I can take the bike apothecaries. I can take them on feet, on bikes, in fucking tank armor. I'm pretty great. But yeah, Deathwing Knights are some of the best close combat. The only thing is they are super, super expensive, so you're not going to see a lot of them. But the thing is, regular Terminators, and people are saying like Terminator is just kind of weird in this edition. They're not doing what they're just not like the big enough player. With Dark Angels specifically, I like them just because they have the stratagem where they can shoot. They drop in, they shoot as it were the shooting phase. They can then move and shoot. So they're pretty damn good, and they can assault if they want to. So they don't move, but they drop in, shoot again, then attack anything that's in their way. So the only thing is, a 9-inch charge is fucking hard to make.
It is.
I can never make those goddamn 9-inch charges. But yeah, they do benefit from everybody working together. They're one of the few armies that I look at that actually have synergy within the 3 wings that they have. The green wing is more for kind of or taking over objectives and creating a gun line. The Raven Wing are there for maneuverability and taking out big shit with a bunch of plasma. And then you have your Death Wing just to drop in and try to fuck face. So I like my army now. I think it's very I don't know how competitive it is, but I think it now stands a chance. And I've won my first 2 games in the league, mainly because of mistakes, apparently. But I still won. I still feel I did a good job in my strategy, so I'm maybe turning a corner there. And that actually leads into what we're going to talk about next. And it's the last thing we're going to talk about today. It's hobby goals for 2018. And I have some short term and I have some long term. And then we'll pass it over to John. So short term, during the Escalation League, I want to have a fully painted list by the next point increase. So I have about a week to fully paint the way I want it, my little 500 point list. And since that 500 point list is going to be in the 750 and all the way through, I want to make sure that they're good. Then I'm going to make sure, the 750 isn't good for the 1,000 and then into the 1,500. So I want to do that. I do have to finish Tony's Harlequins, but I do now have the correct stencils for my airbrush, so I can make this a whole lot easier, and I think I can get these done. Probably, I'm hoping by the end of February, if I really fucking crank it out and don't work on anything else, I can have them done by then. Or probably March. More likely March. But also, paint my Imperial Knight, because I have an Imperial Knight that's in pieces, ready to be fucking painted up. It's just sitting there. Long-term goals, I want to finish basing all my Dark Angels the way that they should be. I want to finish painting my Blood Angels in general, because I have a lot. And I actually have about 20 Assault Marines specifically mostly done. They just need like very little work done, and then put them on their bases. And then I have all my Primaris stuff done. They just need a good wash and some transfers, and they should be good. Play AOS, because I love AOS. I love fantasy just in general, more than sci-fi, really. And I want to get started on that. I want to, of course, paint my Stormcast Eternals. This is a big one. I want to play at least 52 games of 40k and or AOS. I just need to play more games, and this leads into my last long term is to be a bigger part and be more friendly in the Red Star community. Because if you know me, I'm not a very talkative type of guy when it comes to meeting new people. I'm kind of closed off from a lot of things like that. And this is getting me to talk to a few more people than I normally would, and I'm hoping that I can become a bigger part in Red Star in terms of just helping out where they need it and being a better representative of Red Star in general. What about you, John?
Short-term goals. I want to. Oh, God, what are my short-term goals? I have a few things that I need to put together. I need to. I mean, all my Death Guard is put together now and based, thanks to you. So I just got to work on detailing.
Yeah.
I want to finish building my demons. I still have some Zinch stuff that I need to put together.
Okay.
Some flamers and screamers and stuff like that. My demon list is it's 4 gods.
Yeah.
I'm not playing just one or the other for the most part. I do have a demon list in mind for Nurgles. For Nurgle. I don't want any of the new Nurgle stuff except for the named character Rodigus.
Okay.
But I do want to make a list centering around Epidemus. But the thing is, there's a lot of demons in the Chaos Space Marines book.
Yeah.
That can take the mark of Nurgle and will help his rule go off, like Obliterators, Helldrake, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I want to get that stuff put together. My Astra Militarum, all my troops are painted. I just gotta paint my tanks, which shouldn't be too hard because there's gonna be a lot of aerosol.
Yeah.
That's my short-term goals, especially primarily build the Zinch stuff because that's gonna feed into the AOS because I do want to play AOS.
Okay.
Long-term goals. Is pretty much just painting.
Yeah.
A lot of my stuff I'll build and then base it with spray paint, and I'll start the detailing and then just kind of move on to the next project because I have a problem where I buy things a lot.
I think a lot of people have that problem.
But I buy more toys before I finish putting together or painting the toys I have before. So that's pretty much my long-term goal is just get more stuff painted. I want to have at least one fully painted 2,000 point list over the next couple of months.
Okay. Is that everything? Is that all you want to cover?
Yeah, I mean, I already play a decent amount of games. And I am really friendly with Red Star, and this is my second league. So
doing very well, I might add. And thank you everybody that's joined into the league. Cause
yeah, I hope y'all are having fun.
I hope so. I hope I don't come off as too much of a dick. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Hopefully Mark will be in next time, and he can kind of share at least his hobby goals that he wants to do. We're not going to cover hobby progress because that's going to feed into the whole year, so we don't have to cover any hobby progress for now. But I guess that's pretty much it. If you want to interact with us in any way, if you're listening to this on youtube.com/grimworks, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It does help us out a lot there. If you're listening to this on iTunes, SoundCloud, or any other place where you get your podcast, go ahead and rate, review, subscribe. And if you want to contact us, not through a comment, you can send us an email at citypod88@gmail.com. And in the title, just put 40K or just something relevant like that so that I know it's for this show specifically. But other than that, is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
Other than that, I just want to remind our Mournival Weekly players to send that password over to me directly through Facebook Messenger.
Mournival.
Huh?
Mournival.
Mournival what?
You said a Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
It's been a long day for this man. And we're now...
Mournival Weekly.
We're now podcasting like almost in the dark because we don't have the lights on and just the very little light. It's sort of weird. But, you want to remind our Mournable Weekly players, just send in, and we are not going to repeat that. You have to listen to it.
Yeah. So if you tuned in to the end hoping to get the password, you're shit out of luck. You got to go find it somewhere in the podcast.
Uh-huh. And, again, you just have to message John directly through Facebook, and you'll be entered into the prize of the Start Collecting box of your choice, whichever it is.
Yeah, 40K or Age of Sigmar, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you've already won a prize through the Mournable weekly giveaways, you are still eligible for this prize. So, send me that message, get your name in the running. Also, so that our other listeners don't feel left out, we have done a giveaway before through Perils of the Warp, and there will be more coming later. So, all of you listening from another city, another state, a different gaming group, just keep listening, and we will have more giveaways for you coming soon.
Yes, and if you have any feedback on how we can improve this show, I know this one's a little bit longer because we tried to do an 8th edition in review. Go ahead and send us some feedback because we would really like this. I really like Warhammer just in general, and I want this podcast to really succeed because I just want more people to talk about this.
Yeah, send us your Alpha Strike list.
Yes.
Because we want to get better.
If you have any tips on how to beat Eldar, let me know. But other than that, I guess this is the end for this particular episode. We don't really have a sign off for this episode.
See you later, Space Cowboy.
All right, I like Cowboy Bebop. So, my name is Roman.
My name is John.
All right, and next time.
See you later, Space Cowboys.